not the easiest way to escape now these days, just to say I have mental health issues. You won't get away with everything, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do you navigate that particular issue when it comes to your performance in the workplace? Can you just say, you know what, this 2 months I had mental health issues. I'm not quite sure what they were, but you know what, boss, I've just been struggling.
Yeah, I've been struggling a lot with my mental health, which is something that a lot more people have become more comfortable, speaking about in the workplace, which is incredible, because I feel like workspaces have adjusted to mental health issues. Maybe not completely, but there is an adjustment that is taking place in all industries generally. And it's a beautiful thing to see that more and more people are able to be dynamic humans in the workspace, and not just like robots that need to work, and they can actually say, hey, I'm struggling with my mental health, and this is what I'm going through. Yeah,
but it's not everyone who can just make that claim, right? You have to make sure that you really have a mental health condition. And also, what happens if you do have a proven mental health situation and it's just not enough anymore to justify the poor working environment or your own performance?
Yeah, well, that's what we'll be chatting about in the cubicle in this hour of the show. And if you've had experiences around this, do let us know. We always love to hear your own experiences, especially because this is quite a sensitive issue for some. If you do really have struggles on mental health issues, it is important to speak to someone about it. And maybe sometimes going to your boss and speaking about how you feel could be your first step. Sometimes you need help and you don't know how to get it yourself. Speak to someone. It is very important.
Yeah, man, that's what's coming up on the show. Remember, stay in touch with us on different platforms on social media. At Channel Africa 1 is what is our handle. So you can find it in all the platforms on social media, and you can become part of the Channel Africa family.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Oh, yeah. I give you sample, girl, I don't love you, This love will no be play. This love will no be play. Make I give you sample, girl, I don't love you, This love will no be play. This love will no be play. Say I love my woman, no before mouth. If them hate on we meet them fire kata, but oh, no. No, they ask me jump question. Let me love my woman, no. No, they ask me that question. Oh, no, yeah. In love, hello, in love. In love, hello, in love. In love, hello, in love. Yeah. In love, hello, in love. Now only you with the boss my brain no. With the boss my brain no. My mama say now you. Yeah, you. Oh baby, I love this love. Oh, I no go play with your heart. Oh no. Make I give you sample, girl, I don't love you, This love will no be play. This love will no be play. Make I give you sample, girl, I don't love you, This love will no be play. This love will no be play. Say I love my woman, no before mouth. If them hate on we meet them fire kata, but oh, no. No, they ask me jump question. Let me love my woman, no. No, they ask me that question. Oh, no, yeah. In love, hello, in love. In love, hello, in love. In love, hello, in love. Yeah. In love, hello, in love.
Hey, that's Hey Love with Ola Kira, taking us to 10 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. We're going to be speaking about when your mental health affects your performance at work. How do you deal with that? That's coming up after the break.
The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Young couples or young people that are getting married, we often hear of divorces, that they're getting divorced, and it's quite worrying because when we attend these weddings, we want to see these people flourish and celebrate 30-year anniversaries. What do you think is the main challenge that is facing newlyweds?
We say that tell me how you were raised and I'll tell you how you love. So when we see people getting married, that's not where the relationship actually starts. The relationship starts with how you were raised, what you were familiar with, because we are attracted to what we are familiar with. If you don't have a background where love was prominent, where love was authentic, it's going to be very difficult for you to manufacture that in later life. So our upbringing has something to do with it.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, we're back to have our In The Cubicle feature that comes to you every Tuesday, where we look at how to navigate issues in the workplace. Poor work performance cases can become difficult for employers to navigate in circumstances where mental health challenges may be a contributing factor. More often than not, employers are hesitant to consider dismissing employees for poor performance in such instances out of fear of being sued or labeled as insensitive to employee well-being. We're going to be unpacking what happens when mental health is not enough to excuse poor work performance. We're speaking to Michael Bagraim, who's a law specialist, on the line. Michael, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And it's a wonderful topic because it's a vexed topic. Everyone is always worried about it. So, yes, good to talk about it.
It's good to talk about it because more and more we are becoming understanding of what mental health is, just generally as a society. Those issues are becoming more profound in our communities, but also more centralized in our conversations, even in our workplace, Michael.
It certainly is. Look, I'm no doctor, but I've been a practicing labor lawyer now for just over 40 years, and I'm finding it more and more prevalent that people are actually suffering from breakdowns, from mental health. And of course, most people are just too scared to share it with anyone because, as you know, I mean, I've heard this many times on Channel Africa, that unemployment is the worst in the world. So if you go and share possibly with your work manager or your boss or one of the directors where you're working, you go and share that you've got a mental health problem, you're going to feel that you're being targeted. I think personally I'd be scared to actually come and share that for a whole host of reasons. One, of course, it's still shunned on by society. People see me as being possibly weak or not able to cope with my own situation, or even just making it up. So often one feels almost scared to come forward and say, listen, I'm suffering here. I don't know what it is. I can't put a pin on it. It's not like a broken arm where we can all see your broken arm and it's not shunned on by society. And so you've got two problems. First of all, because of unemployment, which is so high, and then you're scared of losing your job. And second of all, because of the fear of not only losing their job, but everyone actually looking down upon you. I mean, and all that adds up to the fact that you then get targeted. The real problem is, of course, when you do have any ailment, it doesn't matter whether it's mental health or any sort of physical ailment, your productivity does suffer. And then the target falls on your back again, because everyone's going to say, listen, Michael, you were supposed to manufacture 12 widgets a day, and you're actually only doing 5. What's going on? Are you lazy? What's your problem?
Yeah.
And of course, at the end of the day, you have to find a solution, because I don't know what the figures are. Probably you guys know, but mental health is prevalent in our society, but it's not only South Africa. I think we're seeing it around the world. It's pressure is great. We're living in a pressurized society, and in particular, the work environment is heavily pressurized.
Michael, we're taking a look at that correlation between mental health conditions or mental health issues and work performance. In most, if not all workplaces, they are what we call KPIs, key performance indicators. How long would there need to be sort of like a look at your KPIs to know whether or not you're performing poorly in the workplace?
Well, it's not how long. It's most workplaces today, you call it KPIs, but I just call it targets. Most workplaces want to know that you're actually keeping up, and compared to your colleagues, that you're actually doing the same thing as them or better. That can be picked up in a day in most places. I run a small law firm, and monthly I look at the billings of each attorney. And I can say by the end of that month, what happened here? You were normally doing X, you're now doing X minus 2. Month 2, I say you're now doing X minus 3. What's going on? Are you happy here? Are you dealing with it? What's going on? And if it carries on like that, you get a warning. And if it carries on like that, you get a final warning. And then I'm going to have a performance hearing where I could possibly dismiss you. Now, remember, we've got some excellent labor laws in this country, and in particular, the Labor Relations Act. It's a good piece of legislation, and we have a schedule to that Labor Relations Act. It's Schedule 8. So anyone that's interested in a little bit of labor law and in protecting your rights as an employee or enforcing your rights as an employer, go carefully, have a look at, read Schedule 8 to the Labor Relations Act. It's a schedule that will show you how to dismiss and what has to be done in the circumstances. And there is a section in there that says that you can dismiss for poor performance, and also you can dismiss for ill health. It's a no-fault type of situation. But for instance, if I'm depressed for whatever reason, and it's persistent, and I've received warnings, it might not be my fault because it's a mental issue and it's not brought upon myself. I still can't justify my existence if I'm losing money for my employer, or if I'm actually involving their clients and their clients are not getting delivery. And so you can still dismiss. And here's the problem, because I was speaking just now about people saying, I'm too scared.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my clients come to me and say, we're just too scared to say anything. If you're too scared to tell your employer, then you've got to have another explanation why you have not hit your KPI.
Okay.
And if you can't give a justifiable reason, you're going to get dismissed. And so you're between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Yeah.
Do you tell them and run the risk, or do you not tell them and run the risk as well? So I'm in favor of actually telling someone, if there's an HR person, HR's normally got some heart. People have got empathy, and then you can work with them. But if you're not working with them and you've kept it silent, you can't come afterwards and say, by the way, you've been giving me warnings. I know I'm not hitting my targets, but by the way, this is my issue. You can't come afterwards and say, because they're going to ask, they're going to say, why are you not hitting your targets? Why are you only manufacturing 3 widgets when you're supposed to do 12 widgets? And you say, oh, well, I've had a bad day or whatever. You must rather come forward, I think.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you highlight the fact that you can actually lose your job despite the fact that you might not be feeling well, maybe physically, or maybe attributing it to mental health issues. I want us to revise after the break this interesting case of Abels versus University of Stellenbosch, where the Labour Court considered the fairness of the dismissal of the employee for poor performance. And this case was a reminder that employers have the importance of establishing the true reason of performance concerns and having a clear evidence-based approach to managing poor performance, particularly where there is a link with mental illness. So when you do make a mental illness claim, how important is it that it comes from you making sure that you've got the right evidence for yourself as the employee, but also what you present also to the employer, and what's the obligation for the employer as well when you come with such information? We'll continue after the break.
Annie Kalonji sur sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons à présent dérouler notre tapis rouge pour accueillir notre personnalité du jour, l'artiste chanteur Sheky Frey, qui est en ligne de Guinée avec nous.
Je suis un artiste guinéen, un créateur, un styliste et je fais un peu ce qui plaît à mes fans. Voilà, c'est un peu ça. On a beaucoup de genres de trucs à faire, mais bon, pour le moment, on est basé un peu sur le rap.
D'accord. À quelle période de votre vie avez-vous commencé à vous intéresser à la musique, Sheky?
Bon, je crois pas qu'il y ait une période, parce que moi, je suis un mélomane depuis mon petit âge.
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform. Vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform on our website www.sabc.co.za/SABC/ under e-tenders or self-register at etender.sabc.co.za and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more details.
Get set and be ready to go. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
So what happens if your poor performance at work is directly correlated to your mental health condition? Do the two go together? And does the employee have a right to say, well, we need you to perform even though you have mental health issues? We continue this conversation with Michael Bagraim, who's a labor law specialist. Before we went on our break, Michael, thank you for staying with us, by the way. Ben brought up a very interesting case that we're looking at as a case study, which is the case of, mental health in the workplace. This particular employee, Mr. Abels, was dismissed, which he claims was unfair because during the arbitration proceedings, he substantiated that he was struggling with depression. And he says that he was dismissed for, reasons that are based on his ill mental health and not due to his poor performance.
Yeah, look, that case is differentiated with many things. The first thing is, from what I remember about the case, I haven't read it recently, but Abels actually came forward and told them beforehand that he was suffering from a health condition. So he came forward and told them. That's the first big step, because many of the people, as I said to you earlier, many of the people are too scared to share that, and that creates a major problem for the employee. The second thing is that Abels was under the impression that they were trying to get him out because they didn't enjoy the fact that someone was ill, not because of the performance. And I think in that case, he was trying to prove that his performance wasn't all that bad. In fact, they wouldn't have picked it up but for the fact that he went to them and actually then said that I'm ill. So there are two factors over there that are very important and that we have to take away from that case. One is you have to at least tell your employer what the problem is, because they can't manufacture the problem. They can't pluck it out of thin air.
Yeah.
They also can't, no employer can also force you to go to a doctor and then share that information with your employer. That's your personal and private information. So you have to do that willingly. When I say have to, you either do it willingly or you don't.
Yeah, Michael,
and if you don't do it,
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah,
That's quite interesting that you're saying that, right? Because like you're saying, nobody can force you to bring in your personal information about your medical history.
Sure.
So how can the employee prove that your claim is valid? Like anyone can walk to HR. Maybe you were just having one of those months and you're like, oh no, I actually suffer from depression. And if you are not diagnosed or you don't have any proof of your diagnosis, how can the employer believe you?
Well, the employer will say that we don't have proof. You might be hell of a lazy, you might have a drug problem, you might have an alcohol problem, you might be a person that's doing you've got a side hustle and you work at night as a waiter, for instance, and by the time you get to work, you're dog tired. I've had cases like that as well. So the people are holding down two jobs, and many of us have to hold down two jobs to make ends meet. But you're working at night and you come and you want to sleep during the day, and that's your main job. The employer has an obligation to at least look into it and to verify it. And that's what that case is saying. And in the Abel's case, the employer was given the proof. They were told, from what I understand, that here is the proof. You can't just make up a story and say, listen, I'm depressed, so I need to sleep during the day, because they're going to ask.
Yeah.
They're going to say, please come forward. Now, I've just had a case now where an employee did not want to go to a doctor. I'm not sure why he didn't want, but he said to them he's feeling depressed. He can't work because he gets into a complete state and then can't think properly. And they said, well, we do need you to actually go and check it out, and we need to work with you as to how we can improve this. How can we tackle it? The employer was actually quite compassionate about it. But then they said, we can't be compassionate if you're not prepared to get professional help. Otherwise, at what stage do we go on for 10 years and then we get no productivity for 10 years? That's not possible. That's not probable, and it's not possible, and it's not going to happen. And then we're probably going to dismiss you. So you must work with us. You can't expect the employer to do everything. You have to work with them. They can't hold you down, for instance, and say, right, we're not going to tie your arms around your back and you're coming off to our specialist.
Absolutely.
You can't do that. We're living in a modern country.
When we were discussing this particular subject matter, because we usually do think about these issues in a very much sensitive way, and we don't want to just have a topic without really thinking about the context. We were thinking about also the question of how systems can be put in place for many employers to actually have maybe wellness centers within their framework to deal with such matter. How important is that element in a workplace environment?
Well, it is. If obviously you're talking about middle to medium size to big business, because
sure,
I mean your local sponsor shop can't have a wellness center, and they can't have an HR specialist. But you might understand that in South Africa today, it's small business that is carrying the workload, not big business. Big businesses they call it jobless growth. They can afford all these fancy things that you're talking about, but small businesses can't. So you've got to work with the employer. But even if it's a big business, you actually have to come forward and go to the wellness center. My friends were teasing me because I'm overweight. I said, all right, I'm going to join a gym. And then I didn't lose weight. And they said, but you can't just join the gym. You have to actually go to the gym as well. And I said, well, I'm not happy about that.
Don't worry.
Join the gym.
We also struggle. We also struggle from that problem. You're not on your own, Michael.
Yeah, so I can't just come forward and say to my employer saying, look, guys, I'm really sorry about this, but I've been depressed, and I don't know what to do about it. And they said, well, we know what you should be doing. You should be speaking to a professional.
Yeah.
We'll help you with that if you can't afford it, or there might be on a medical aid and we'll arrange it for you. But you actually have to take that step. You can't sit back and say, I'm depressed. Well, you won't see me for the next 3 months. That's cool. Cheers. No, that's not going to happen. You have to actually join hands with your employer in this exercise. Now, in a larger company, and many of my clients have a wellness center, they do have HR. Many still have nurses on duty that you can go speak to, and you can speak to people on a confidential basis. So your work boss won't actually hear about it. And also, many of us are afraid that our colleagues will find out. I don't want to go and share that I've got diabetes, and then all my colleagues will watch me at lunchtime to see if I drink a Coke. So, you don't want to share that with everyone. You want to be able to confide in someone. You want that someone to work with you and to have empathy. But I tell you what's important for employers, because I act for many employers. What's important for employers is to know that this is not permanent and it's not going to get worse. Because if it is permanent and it is going to get worse and there's nothing we can do about it, well, then they have to actually, for the sake of everyone else in the business, they have to actually then dismiss you. I know it sounds terrible, but you can't let the whole business collapse and no one will have a job at the end of the day, because 15% of your workforce have some sort of mental health issue. And I'm sucking the figure out of my thumb, but I think it's almost as high as that we have in South Africa, that people have some sort of health issue. And the employer needs to know the longevity, and the treatment. They need to know that we actually dealing, and they also need to know that they're not going to put more pressure on you.
Yeah.
You know, not going to throw more work at me because my productivity drops, so then they throw more work to test me. I get worse. I do even less work. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You have to have, and you know, the cornerstone of every employment relationship, the cornerstone, the acid test is trust. And if you can't trust your employer, then you've got a problem. And if they can't trust you, they're going to get rid of you.
We'll need to wrap it up there, Michael. Thank you so much. And I think that's a great way to wrap it up, because trust is quite important, so that whenever other people come forward with their mental health conditions and issues in the workplace, it's easy to believe and people can actually get help and assistance. Thank you so much for your time, Michael.
Thank you. Keep up your good work.
Thank you so much. So should you. Labor law specialist Michael Bagraim speaking about poor work performance when you're struggling with mental health conditions.